Want to get creeped out? Let's talk about Alice Kittler, a woman who was accused of witchcraft, and I'm not sure if she was a witch, but she definitely might have been a serial. There were many charges that were laid against her. Many of her husbands were unalived, and I just want to tell you guys what occurred during this Irish witch trial. It was nutso. Alice Kittler lived from sometime around 1263 to 1325, and she holds the dubious honor of being the first recorded woman accused of witchcraft in Ireland. The laundry list of charges against her includes some wild claims, like denying the power of Christ and of the church. During this time, denunciating faith was considered rather to be worshiping the devil. She was also accused of animals to demons. They would also allegedly hold coven meetings and burn candles in the church at night without permission. Big no-no. They would make dark magic-based powders, ointments, or potions, which apparently included alarming ingredients, including but not limited to body parts of underage people that had not been baptized, that were quite young, worms, a skull, and chicken innards. This probably wasn't true, but this was on the list. These alleged potions were said to corrupt Alice's husbands. Lastly, she was charged with bewitching and unaliving her husbands to take the money for herself and her biological son, William Outlaw. Her tale starts in County Kilkenny, where she was born into a well-off family, and she had quite the marital journey, tying the knot 4 different times with notable figures in the community. It was 1280 when Alice married her first husband, William Outlaw. He passed in 1285, and Alice received a hefty sum of money. It was later in 1302 when her escapades started to attract a crowd, or attract quite a bit of attention, especially when her and her second husband were accused of offing her first husband. Alice's involvement in money lending and her considerable wealth didn't exactly help her case. She wasn't winning any local popularity contests, let's put it that way. Sometime shortly thereafter, Alice's second husband passes away, and she receives a hefty sum of money. In 1309, Alice marries her third husband, Richard de Val. In 1316, Alice's third husband, Richard, passes away, and she sues his heir, her stepson, for the widow's share, receiving a hefty sum of money. This act incited the suspicion and anger in her stepchildren, as they would have received the money had she not intervened. That same year, Alice marries her fourth husband, Jean Le Poer. Things now take a dramatic turn when her fourth husband falls ill and there is suspected foul play. Although Alice's first 3 husbands didn't raise any allegations of witchcraft against her, her fourth husband, John, started pointing fingers when he fell ill. However, he wasn't accusing her of witchcraft. He was actually hinting that she was poisoning him and that was the cause of his sickness, especially considering the suspicious passing of his predecessors. Accusations flew after his demise, which occurred in 1324, with her stepchildren pointing fingers at her for sorcery and poisoning their fathers, as well as showing favoritism towards her biological son. This most likely occurred because just before John passed away, John altered his will to favor Alice and her biological son. This move didn't sit well with his children from a previous marriage, obviously, who then accused Alice of bewitching their father and labeled her as a poisoner. The association with herbalism and witchcraft during that time likely fueled these accusations. Her fourth husband has now passed away. All of her stepchildren are accusing her of poisoning and bewitching their fathers, and the association with herbalism and witchcraft at that time is kind of fueling the fire. The same year that Alice's fourth husband passed away, there comes this bishop, and he is determined to uphold church law and morality, and he accuses Alice and her associates of witchcraft and heresy. But Alice had powerful friends in high places. The bishop's attempt to bring her to justice faced resistance, and this actually wound up getting him imprisoned in March and April of that year. And this was at the hands of Alice's allies. Despite political struggles, the bishop pressed on, accusing Alice and her son of heresy. Now, Alice's trial takes another dramatic turn when Alice Alice's servant, Patronia Demith, confesses under torture to participating in witchcraft. Her testimony, though coerced, formed the backbone of the case against Alice. Here's the really sad part. Petronia was then flogged and burned at the stake on November 3rd, 1324. But before justice could be served, Alice and her companion, Basilia, which was Petronia's daughter, made a daring escape. Although other associates faced conviction, Alice herself vanished into the ether, leaving behind a trail of mystery. The exact details of her fate, including when and where she passed away, remain shrouded in mystery. Anyways, that's it for this one. Stay spooky.
Oh my god, that is so horrific. It gave me goosebumps. You know when you watch those horror films, like Little Villages, like it's always about witchcraft. And most of the time it is about poisoning and, you know, making potions and whatnot. But it is basically like real life, isn't it? Like today's society of women just divorcing men and trying to like find a way to make them evil and taking all their money. Or men doing that to women, either way. I've never heard of that story though before. That's crazy. Imagine that was like around now. Like imagine just walking to Tesco and you just see some woman getting burnt at a stake because she's being accused of witchcraft. It's insane. God, I love listening to these like spooky horror stories though. It feels like I'm in Halloween and I love Halloween. But I hope this story is so good. It should be made into a movie. I feel like that'd be so cool to watch. Gosh, I wonder how many of the witch stories have happened like that though. Like poisoning. It's insane. It's so insane like how different time was, like even like 500 years ago. It's insane. Genuinely insane. And like I feel like now Christianity is not as big as it was back then. I think it's so fascinating, these stories. Even if they're fake, they're so cool to even like think of.